everybody, and welcome to Gerda Steiner Designs blog. I'm Allison Cope, and today we're going to be making a last-minute gift card holder. And we're going to go through the whole entire process from beginning to end. So first of all, you need some kind of gift card. I still have to go and get my gift card, so I am going to leave my mechanism open, but we can certainly get it all done. So next, I printed out my 3 Carol cats, and they're all ready to go. But before I start coloring, I am going to take this is a piece of 110-pound cardstock, so it's a nice heavy-duty cardstock, and I'm going to apply some Stick It to it. Now, the only reason I'm doing this is because I want to add a little bit more rigidity to the back of my little kitties, because I am eventually going to fussy cut them out and they are going to move, so I want them to be a little bit more rigid. So I've just peeled off one side of the backer, applied it to my heavy-duty cardstock, and I've just peeled off the other side of the backer, and I'm going to stick my kitties to it. And there we go. They're all ready to go. Now we're going to go and color them up and proceed on finishing up our gift card. I'm going to start off by coloring my kitty cat's fur first. And I'm going to start with a Y32 and get a nice base coat. Sometimes I even go on the inside of the ears with my lightest color, because a cat doesn't necessarily have pink on the inside of the ears. Sometimes you can see kind of through them, so sometimes I put on one of my lighter colors. And today I'm channeling my Marley. He's my orange baby. And he is an orange striped putty tat. So make sure you go under the scarf, because the cat's fur would show through those pieces of string. I'm going to just do a hint of color on the top of his paws. I'm going to leave the center of his belly white, and I'm going to document my colors as I go. So what I generally do, this is one of my own homemade swatch charts. It's great for keeping track. I'm going to go a little darker with a YR21. There we go. I'm going to start to add in some of those shadows. I'm not going to be exact at where my sun is coming in. I'm just coloring for pure joy today. This is obviously for a last-minute gift, so I don't want it to take too long. And kitties, they're so forgiving as far as fur is concerned, so you can get super creative. We'll start with that. Go to my next darkest. I'm just going to put a swatch down. This is YR24. I'm going to put in those darker shadows. Then I'll come in and do detail such as stripes and things like that. There we go. My Marley even has stripes on his front of his paws. a little bit of darkness underneath that scarf, and don't worry about making mistakes. Number one, I'm going to fussy cut out the edge, so I'm not worried about edges. And number two, you can always blend things out. So this is YR 24 and YR 27. Sorry, my R's are without their sticks. Okay, so I'm going to put in more detail. I want it to be kind of splotchy and stripy, because you know what, it's never perfect, is it, on a kitty? And we'll go in and do the stripes on his tail and his legs and his back. Put those details in. This is supposed to be fun, so make it fun. Okay. I am going to go in back just to my lightest, my Y32, and just kind of blend out just around the face, and I'll even go over his stripes just a tiny bit here. That'll actually soften them a bit because there's a little bit more blender solution in a lighter color, so it ultimately goes to work on some of those other colors that you've put down. So there's the start. I think we'll go with an R02 for the ear and for his tongue. So I always indicate that on my sheet there. And I want a darker pink for the back of his throat. So I'm going to go E04. Sometimes I even use an E04 to do darker imprints in the ears, like just add a little bit of shadow color, and then you can go in with your lighter color, of course, and blend it out a bit. There. And of course we're going to stick with some holiday colors, and I'm going to go start in with his scarf and his hat, and I'm going to go traditional good old red. So I'm going to start with the R24. I'm going to put my base color down. Everybody colors with Copics differently. You have to find what works for you. Some people start with all of their shadow color, so their deepest, darkest color first. Some people start with their lightest color, and yeah, whatever works for you. So give both a try, see what you find works best for you. So I'm not going to do anything fancy. You could go totally cute and do some cute patterns on his scarf. Absolutely. But I'm going to keep it really simple. I want my coloring to be fairly fast today. So that was my R24. We need a little bit of shadow. I'm going to go under the hat and maybe just a little tiny bit here, and oopsie poopsies. Oh wow, okay. It's because I'm rushing through this and I really shouldn't be. A little bit of shadow where the overlap might be. I think I will go one more darker to give it an even deeper shadow. I'm going to use this sparingly. And just a touch here and there. And then I will go back to my R24, which is my lightest, and just slowly blend that just a tiny little bit there. So that was R27 and R39. Okay, we need to add a little bit of texture to his hat. So I'm going to pull in my gray markers. I think I'll start with an N03. It's a neutral colored gray. I'm just putting a few itty bitty teeny tiny dots just on the bottom. There we go. And I'm going to take my colorless blender, and I'm using the wrong end, and push a little bit of that ink back into the paper and just soften those subtle dots. So there we go. I'm pretty happy with that little fella. And I'm going to skip the middle one, and I'm just going to do this little fella here at the end. I'm going to do exactly the same colors, and we're going to have two kitties from the same family, and we'll go on to the next part of the card. All right, I have both my kitties all colored up there, and now I'm going to fussy cut them out, and we're going to get ready to do our card base. Critters all fussy cut, and I took an orange marker around anything that was orange edged and did that, and anything red edged, and just makes it a lot nicer looking when it goes on the card, so you don't have white edges. Okay, so we're going to use the Lawn Fawn double slider surprise die, and so I have die cut 3 of the back or front panel and 1 of the inside H panel, and that's what we're going to start with now. I like to use the same stuff that you might store your stamps in. I'm just going to take the edge off my pocket here just to get rid of this seal. If I can get it to cooperate here. Okay, and I need it 2.5, well actually just slightly smaller than 2.5. And I only actually need one side of this strip here. I'm just going to cut that. I always just put this back in the sleeve with my die. I've already got pieces cut. Then what you have to do is you have to take this and you have to wrap it around your die here, and you've got to put a really strong piece of tape right on the end of that plastic. And I'm going to use some score tape here, minus the cat hair, ha ha ha. Put it right on that, cut off the excess. You want to make sure there's nothing hanging off that, because you want it to slide nicely and adhere not to that working piece down there. So you can't adhere this too tightly wrapped around, but it has to be fairly tight. It just has to have some room to move around. Now, nobody's going to see this part. It's totally embedded inside your card. So if you get stuff stuck to your glue like I just did, it's not a big deal. Okay, I'm just going to trim off the excess. And there we go. So this is going to be the sliding action embedded in the card. And the more you work this mechanism, the better it'll act as for your recipient. So take some time, play with it a little bit, and get it ready to go. Okay, on to the next part. With our two little fuzzy kittens all done, we're going to make a backdrop for them to stand on. And I'm going kind of untraditional color for sky. I'm actually going to go green, believe it or not. So I'm starting with a really, really light yellowy green. It's called Melon Ice. And I'm just putting a soft layer. I'm trying not to put too much on that tab just to make it easier to adhere. The less ink I find on that tab, the better. It just makes it easier to put our adhesive on. And then I'm going to go a little darker. This one's called Lime Rookie. And it's a little richer green, so we're going to put a landscape down and across this, so I don't have to be perfect on the bottom because we're actually going to cover that up. We just want a little bit of color into the sky. I'm all over the place. Trying to bring that up into that area there. There we go. And then we'll go and get another piece exactly like this. I've actually cut a few. And we're going to cut a hillside on it. And this time I'm just going to use my scissors, I think. I'm just going to freebomb my cut here. And the reason why I do it right from this piece is so that it completely matches up with my base, so it doesn't look like it's come from another set or there's no stitch lines on the bottom versus the top. So we're just a really slight curve. I'm going to adhere that onto the back and then we'll go on to the next part. So now we're going to work on the two sides of the float of the card. I've die cut a piece of pattern paper for the right side, and I've also done up some computer generated fonts and that for my front of my card and the pull out on the right hand side. So I found a font that I really liked, and I'm going to die cut this one to go on the front of my card, and then we're going to just cut this one down for the other side. So I die cut my Meowy Christmas for the front, and this banner piece is going to be for this right hand side. I'm going to add some adhesive. And once again, I cut it with the same die so that everything looks cohesive. I'm going to put it towards the bottom here. There we go. So those two are ready to go on this piece. So grab your slider, and this is how this one works. So one card goes on the top and one card goes on the bottom of our piece of plastic. So I'm just going to take that over there. So this one has to come out of the card this way, and this one has to come out this way. So you have to be able to position your pieces appropriately. And this one, so my seam is here again, that's where my tape is. And we're going to do the same thing again. We are going to line up the edge of this card piece with this here. And I'm going to use my trusty dusty heavy duty Score Pal tape again. So I'm going to take one single piece of tape, make sure you keep it within the confines of your plastic. Okay, pull that just a tinkle that way. And take off the backer, and I'm going to line that card piece up. You want it between those two gaps. Okay, so it's going to pull to the right that way. Now let's attach our other side here. This one, I'm going to flip this over, and this is the good side, so I'm going to flip this over as well, and we're going to do the same thing but just on the opposite edge. So making sure that this one is all the way over to that same edge, we're going to flip it over. I'm going to take a piece of your score tape again, break it off at the edge there, make sure it's not overhanging. Peel off that backer tape, and I'm gonna, this is the good side down, so make sure you decorate it first. If you don't, you'll just make it harder on yourself. The other thing I've added too is 1/8 inch score tape all along those little edges there. They're on both sides, okay? So it's a lot more stable in the card, but eventually it's going to come out of both sides. Okay, that's what that piece of plastic does. It acts as your mechanism for moving everything. Okay, so let's bring in our front piece, and this is our back piece. And what we need to do, there's a good side and a bad side. I'm going to first just get this score line to push over. I'm going to crease it, give it a good press. I'm going to do that for my back, and of course you can use a decorative piece of paper, whatever kind of floats your boat. If you're going to put this on top of another card, then you don't really need to decorate the back anyway. Okay, so this is the front, and we're going to add score tape to both of those first. I'm going to go back to my 1/8 inch score tape. It fits a little bit better. I try to go to the outer edge versus the inner edge, just because that's where I need it to really adhere. So there we go. Apply that. Perfect. Now we're going to start by sticking these two together. So I'm just taking my front, and I've just peeled off that backer paper. I'm going to line them up by just butting them up to one another, and I'm going to fold over that flap. Okay, so we're still one card front. Okay, now make sure you've got your card the right way, so its hilltop is sitting the right direction. I'm going to open it up, and now we're going to put this in. So let's start by taking the backer pieces off those edges. We'll do that first, and then we can do the front ones. Okay, so now you have to take that, and you're going to put it down in kind of the crevice of where this fold is. See if we can get you a little closer there, without exposing this piece to the outside of your card. So put it in, and you're going to give those good adherence press, a squishy press. Okay, now take off the backer paper, and we're going to take off the backer paper on this edge as well. And you have to be very gentle, and you're going to close it up very, very carefully. So press, press, press gently, and then press that top too to make sure that that inner piece is together. All right, so we're all together. I threw on a couple of pull tabs, and voila, the inside of our card is done. Let's finish the outside. All right, so we have our little Meowy Christmas title, and then we have our 2 little fun critters. So we just have to figure out what works best. And you know what? Actually, that's pretty cute there. There we go. Like I said, it's supposed to be simple. And because it is a little bit bulkier, I am just going to adhere them with a little adhesive and stick them right directly to the card base, just to make it super fast. There we go. And then our little meow meows. There we go. I like using glue with a finer tip just to get into those little itty bitty cut pieces, like the pom-pom on his hat. So, and just give it a good press. You can stick something like an acrylic block or something heavy just to hold it on, but I find that if you just press it down for a few seconds, we're good. And then we'll put our other little meow meow on. Make sure you get the tail detail with a little bit of wet glue. And you know what? Maybe we'll put these guys a little closer together. Here. There we go. And there we go. You've got a cute little gift card holder all ready to send to someone special. Thanks for joining me today, guys. I hope I inspired you today, and I hope to see you again. Take care.